Hello. This is Jonathan, and you're listening to the Johnny Talks podcast, the place where we help you achieve your financial goals. Hola, amigos. Hope you're having a great day wherever you are, whether that's in Cancun, Paris, or Minneapolis. And if you're a new listener to the show, special warm welcome to you. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And if you're a returning listener, of course, welcome back. I really appreciate it as well. In today's episode, we will speak to my buddy Kade from the rock band Throw the Fight. The fun thing with Kade is that I met him pretty much randomly on a holiday trip in Thailand 6 years ago. And actually, I had no clue he was playing in a band. It's kind of odd since my main hobby next to this blog podcast is basically playing the guitar. Anyway, we kept in touch through Facebook, and as time went by, I saw he was starting to post more and more about his band, the concert they were doing, the album Transmissions that was released on Spotify, and there were even video clips. And I thought to myself, wow, the guy must have left his job and really gone for it, gone for his dreams. And end of last year, I even saw that Kade also started his solo project, Kade Katz, and I thought it would be great to bring you his story on the podcast. So, well, as you will hear in this interview, Kade has not left the workforce just yet, but his musical career has definitely grown tremendously in the last years. We will discuss and present both Throw the Fight and the Kade Katz project, and then we will dive deep into how he manages his time between the day job, the band, and his solo project. And Kade will also take us backstage, so to speak, to reveal what happens behind the curtain at Throw the Fight, their take on the sex, drugs, and rock and roll lifestyle, and we will discuss as well how to grow today as an independent artist. This episode is for you if first and foremost you're a fan of Kade's music, solo project or Throw the Fight, but it is as well for you if you're serious about growing your side activity as a business. And before we head on with the interview, just want to tell you that you might want to stay until the end of the show. I might have a little surprise in store for you, especially for you, Kade. Anyway, without further ado, let's hear the interview. Hello, Kade. How are you doing today?
Very well, man. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Nice to speak to you. And for the listeners, so today we're having Kade Katz from Throw the Fight, and he also has his own rock band solo project, Kade Katz. And we actually met in person 5 years ago in Thailand on a trip, like not related to podcasts or anything, just randomly. And we met in Rayleigh Beach, and it was great. And then we kept in touch.
Yes, yeah, which is phenomenal. You know, I love our story, to be honest. It's phenomenal. It's just great. You know, you're traveling the world and you run into, somebody on the other side of the world, and then you just remain in contact. You know, it's the beauty of the internet, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And then we kept in touch through Facebook, and suddenly I see that Kade, actually, he plays in a band. It's like, oh, wow, but we didn't speak about that in Thailand. I mean, I remember we spoke about holidays and things and US and blah, blah, and more stuff. But then it was, okay, so Kade is in a band. Okay, cool. and suddenly 2 years later, hey, the album Transmission is out, and I listen to it and I love it.
Yeah, thank you.
So would you define your style? I mean, it's kind of rock, it's kind of like Papa Roach, but...
Yeah, that's so funny you say that, because so many people ask, and, you know, pretty much every member, we just say, we're a hard rock band. You know, we're a rock band. You know, we write rock music, but then everyone wants a comparison. And the funny thing is I use Papa Roach every time. I say, Papa Roach, they're a huge influence on us. But, I mean, if you're going to compare it, you know, I would say we're very similar to Papa Roach, and then some of the newer stuff is a little more a lot heavier on production and stuff like that. So just to name somebody who people kind of all know, you say Linkin Park, you know, and they're like, oh, cool. And both of those, usually people have a pretty good idea of whether they want to check you out or not and what they signed up for.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll leave a link to your Spotify account in the show notes so people can listen to it, of course. So no worries about that. And then the thing is, Kade, I know when we met, you were in a job. I thought you were actually a full-time, musician, But
Yeah.
apparently you're still working actually. So how does that work?
Very strategically. There's I have a pretty in-depth calendar. I have weekly, monthly routines based on putting my real job in Monday through Friday, and block out the hours of that, but then also making sure that I'm devoting a lot of time towards Throw the Fight, obviously, whether that's recording, anything from interviews to shows, and band rehearsal, filming music videos, and also with my new solo project, Kade Katz, is spending time in the studio, creating, recording, and doing all that. So yeah, it's just creating a calendar, a routine, and sticking to it, and grinding it every week, and making marginal gains, as I call it. So
Which compound over time, huh?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, yeah, it was very because I was very surprised because I saw the videos on YouTube, I mean, like video clips, and then you have also your own merchandise that you sell, like the T-shirts and everything. So I thought,
Yeah.
okay, he's full time busy with that, so that's great.
Yeah, it's funny because actually I have family members and pretty close friends that message me, or they don't realize, I have a day job, or some of the other members, and it's like, let's be honest, I'm not going to be on social media posting what I'm doing for a real job, although it's great. I'm in aftermarket sales for automotive, and it's
Hmm.
fantastic, but that's not glitz and glamour, and I'm trying to move the needle on my passion and my dream. So it's definitely more music based and music driven. So and building that fan base, and keeping it and growing it.
Hmm. And about your about the band, because we met 5 years ago, and I think you just kind of joined the band, if that's correct.
Yeah, yep, yes. So the band Throw the Fight has actually been around for about 14 years.
Hmm.
There's some pretty good stories with this. So I moved to Minneapolis. I want to say like 2003, 2004, and I had a current band then, and we played with Throw the Fight pretty often. And it came to a point where they were looking for a guitarist, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm going to try out, and I'm
Hmm.
willing to do my other band." And so I went to rehearsals and learned a couple songs, and the members at that time aren't. There's only one like current member that's been in the band since the jump. So and that's Ryan. But so at that time they're like, yeah, you're great, but your style's too punk rock. So didn't get the gig, right?
Hmm.
Fast forward a few years later, they're getting some opportunities with tours and recording, and they reach out to me. And they're like, hey, we obviously they've seen my other projects and my songwriting ability and stuff like that, and they're like, we'd love to bring you on board, but you got to play bass. And I was not a fan of that. I played guitar since I was 7. I don't want to play bass. And then fast forward a couple years after that, Ryan Bousert, the original member, he's like, hey, dude, we're gonna write a new record. We want you on it. Obviously, you can be a part of writing the songs, but you have to play bass. And at this point, these guys were all my best friends, years ago, and member changes and stuff like that. And it's like, it was like a super group of my best friends. And at that point, I was just like, you know what? I'll play bass. I don't really care.
Hmm.
And I still get to go into the studio and track guitar and get my art out. So let's do it. And from there, I was playing bass and singing backups and all that. And it was a great gig. And then as of recent, we moved on from our singer, and it was a pretty easy transition and decision as far as, hey, I'm I'm more in the forefront of the band. People are used to me. I sang before and sing on transmissions. So let's just have me be the front man. And, a few months back, we made the change in the announcement. And I tell you what, we have never been so excited and just ready to kill it.
Yeah.
It's awesome, and we're so driven and passionate about it like we've never been before. So it's a fantastic thing.
And I listen to. I am still a big fan of Transmissions,
Yeah,
and I listen as well to the single "My Disaster," which just was released in November, December, and yeah, I really like it too. I mean, I like the rhythmics, I like your voice. It was great to hear you sing as well. So that's awesome, man.
yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's you know my heart and soul is in Transmissions. There's a couple songs on there that mean a lot to me. One is Passing Ships.
Hmm.
It's one of our biggest stream song, and collectively co-writing. That album had good success. Bury Me Alive, one of the lead singles, had radio success on Sirius XM radio here. Media-based radio. We released a music video that reached out and touched a bunch of people, and so yeah, it had great success, and you can't beat that. Your music needs to connect with people, and that album definitely did. So, and now moving forward with me taking on the new role, we released My Disaster November 1st to give people a taste of a little bit of the newer sound and my voice. And then we've got another single, probably after this airs, it will come out December 13th, which is another single that neither one of these will be on our full album, which will be out like spring of 2020. So, we're definitely giving people a taste and a look of what's to come. And I tell you what, man, the response has been overwhelming. So, it's a pretty ballsy move to be like, hey, this guy who's been singing for X amount of years is no longer doing that. And, people can change guitarists and drummers and all that. But, let's be honest, the lead singer is, crucial.
Absolutely. Most people, when you see the band, you think of the singer, huh? So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So for us to get the response that we have it's so exciting and just makes it, more exciting for us and motivated for sure. So it's awesome.
Awesome, very cool, Kade. It's no, I really enjoy your story, and Kade, because okay, the image we have of a rock band, or like it's a bunch of buddies. Okay, they play in the garage. They may be it's a side business or side hustle.
Yeah.
It's a side or passion, and people record. Okay, they go into production, and then they play in bars or at events, at some festivals here and there. But you,
Yeah.
I mean, how did that go for you? Because now you play, you have your own concerts and everything. So it's not the band from Minneapolis. Yeah. There's a up and coming band. It's how is the journey going? How is it go?
The journey's amazing, and it just keeps getting better. We're like a fine wine.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
were just saying that the other day. We get older, our music gets better, and things just keep. It's a gradual climb, which I'm okay with,
Hmm.
instead of just a one-hit wonder. But like you said, you tell somebody you're in a band, or they hear you're in a band, and the assumption is, you get together with your buddies and you practice in some dude's basement or garage, and then you go out and play a local pub or something like that, of some Ed Sheeran covers or something, and
Yeah.
yeah, and that's it. But for us, it's a business, and you touched on merchandise. So we print and design all of our merch in house. We have a company that helps us obviously with that, but we have 100% control of our merchandise, which is very hard to do in this industry, because if you're signed or anything along those lines, they want they want a piece of the whole pie, you know.
Yeah, sure.
So for us, we get 100% of our merch. We are signed, or we recently just signed a new contract, but it's phenomenal. We get a percentage of streams and downloads from the jump, where most record deals, I mean, they got your hands tied, and you're not getting or seeing any money from your records for 5 to 10 years. And we've gotten those offers, but it's just really tough to swallow that when we're the ones doing the blood, sweat, and tears and releasing this stuff. And the more you can control of the business, and the better. And we make our own decisions and everything like that. So we're very fortunate with that, and just continuing to build that foundation and make consistent revenue. Just like any business.
Yeah, it's actually an additional. I mean, the merch is an additional stream of income.
Absolutely.
To speak more in personal finance terms, and then yeah, it's great. So your band, you have the downloads, the merch. So it's two streams of incomes. That's great.
Yeah. Yep. And with the new climate of this industry with streaming, we still sell hard copies at shows of our CDs, right? Which people grab them. There's still something that's nostalgic about the product, and holding on to it and seeing the art and all that stuff. And I hope that never goes away.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, like, if you're not playing, people aren't buying that actual hard copy. And it's a streaming world now, and we're lucky enough that we have consistent monthly listeners, and it's been growing. One thing that I love is Spotify puts out your yearly numbers based on who you listen to, who your number one artist was, and it's fascinating. And for us, we just got our numbers from 2018 to now, and our monthly listeners, or excuse me, streams of 2018 was 5 million. And we just got 2019's, and it jumped up to 8.1 million.
Oh, awesome.
3 million in a year. And, people can love and hate the streaming world. But, we learned early on is if somebody downloads your song or purchases it on Apple Music or iTunes, that's a one-time purchase, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 99 cents, $1.29. Streaming is constant revenue. So every time somebody listens to that song, maybe, it might be pennies on the dollar, but the more people listen to it over and over and over, it's just like accumulating and building. And for us, since we have been around and we have multiple records, we have a catalog that people can go back to. And the more they listen to that, obviously builds, our listening audience, but then also our revenue, what we get every month. So I think it's a positive. And again, I'm speaking on behalf of us because we are pretty independent band. So we get to see more of that than other artists out there. And I feel like if we can maintain this independence as long as we can, and tour more next year, it's just going to go up. And the amount of people that listen to Spotify and pay monthly on Spotify, we just got the numbers yesterday, and it's grown like 31% of paid subscribers versus last year. And it's almost to the point where these other streaming platforms are going to be extinct, or just they're not going to hit the radar like Spotify. They do a great job. So, we definitely look at those numbers, and based on that, it's huge. So, and once in a while, you land a playlist, and that boosts your plays and builds your audience. And that's what it's all about,
Yeah. Okay, awesome. And what about the other band members? Do they also have their day job, or are they full time working on the band and all the and I don't know, boosting your marketing, so to speak?
Yeah, so yeah, every member of the band has a real job. So Ryan, who's the founding member, he's kind of the business behind a lot of the band. He's always he does a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. I do more of the social media stuff. So response to that. But Ryan's he does a lot of freelance as far as doing websites. Chris, who's our guitarist, he's a psychiatrist, so like a big boy job.
Yeah.
And then Jeff, who's actually Ryan's brother, he is a fitness trainer, more part time now, but he has a clothing company called Iron and Ink Fitness, and it's like a streetwear apparel brand, and he kills it with that. And so, he's got the band and then the clothing line, so he's living the dream as far as the rest of us. But but again, he's constantly putting out product and building his brand, and seeing what works, what doesn't. And the nice thing too is with the clothing line and our band is it kind of ties in with tattoos and music and fitness and just kind of that whole that package. So they complement each other really well. So yeah, and like I said, for me, I'm a outside sales rep for aftermarket automotive industry. So and yeah, I mean, but again, we make the band a priority all the time, and it takes work. It's a job, and it's a business, and we're constantly always thinking of the next step and the next release and the next video. And you sit down with a calendar and there's 12 months, right?
Yeah.
That fills up pretty damn fast, especially with this industry and having a plan of attack. We have a lot of things still in the open for 2020, but we're booking shows out into August, and an album and all those things, and before you know it, we're smack dab back in December, and trying to think of the next deal.
Yeah, sure. And then you mentioned earlier on routines, and because and you all have side jobs.
Yeah.
Your regular job and this and the band. So you mentioned the routines. So I like routines and habits. I like to discuss those things. And do you have any specific tips or any specific things that you do?
As far as the band routine?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we always try to schedule, we just started rehearsing the last month. We've been in the studio, writing and recording for these new singles, and then also our full length album that'll come out next year. And, making sure that primarily it's been a lot of me, because with the singing and writing, I'm in the studio, a couple times a week, whether it's fine tuning something. But on the other hand, we're scheduling rehearsals now and making time for that. We also will schedule conference calls, whether it's with each member or with our booking agent or management. So there's always scheduling as far as that goes. Also, keeping in mind we have real lives, and we share a calendar, so blocking off dates. And then now that we're shopping for tours, we're pitching tours and one-off shows and stuff like that, is just communicating what we can and can't do and what works. But yeah, a lot of it just comes down to making sure everyone makes time out of their own schedule to those demands, and also commitments, and that's the big thing is, with bands. And it's hard enough to get two people in a room at the same time, let alone four people or five people, and on a weekly basis. Or it's a lot of work. But again, sharing the calendar, blocking off dates, and also saying, hey, if I'm not able to do this week, what are we doing to move the needle? So, you know, what's Cade doing? What's Ryan doing? And there's always moving pieces into um, growth or something along those lines. And especially with social media and creating content and making it look cool and just constantly being in the front of the eye of your fans and new fans. I mean, that's a full-time job in itself, is just creating, assets that people want to tap into, and invest in and get excited about. No one loves your band more than you do, but your job at the end of the day is to make everyone love your band more than you do.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, this sounds like a kind of project management and social media stuff. What about the sex, drugs, and rock and roll lifestyle?
you know, um, that there can be that, but the longevity of that is pretty short-lived. And if you this is we're in this for the long game, but for all of us, it's we don't really party as much as we used to. We're kind of, everyone's got kids or adulting to do. And, when you're out on the road and you're driving and you're playing the shows, it's strenuous. All of us are very health conscious. Every one of us, including myself, have a pretty strict exercise routine. We're pretty strict diets.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working out 3-4 times a week, and obviously that helps with endurance during shows and everything, and look good, feel good, right?
Yeah.
And so when we tour, it's pretty funny because we'll go out with other bands, and they might want to do the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, that stuff, and they look at us and they're like, "So wait, you guys just loaded in, and now you're going to the gym? Why?" Because we want to work out. Or what are you guys going to eat? Are you going to eat, pretty much every venue gives you complimentary pizza, which is great. But, you eat that 4 or 5 days in a row. It's like, we're all going to have dad bod, and it's not good. I can't be jumping around on stage or bogged down. And so it's, being conscious of our diet and just it's a different lifestyle than it used to be. And and it's great too, because with each member, we support each other with that, and it's a priority, and you don't feel like, oh, I'm going to stay back and drink all day or whatever. And it's like, okay, cool. We're going to go for a walk or go sightsee and stuff. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, like years ago with old bands or old tours and stuff. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But it only goes so far, and then you're really paying for it the next few days.
Absolutely, absolutely. And talking about other bands, who are you? I mean, your inspiration. I mean, which bands or which artists, and maybe the inspiration of the Throw the Fight.
Yeah.
Do you have a few artists or few names?
Yeah, so collectively, we all have different influences, but speaking on behalf of all the other guys, we touched on Papa Roach. Papa Roach has been a huge influence to us. Early on, they came about in the scene, in our early 20s, and they're still hustling, and it's just a band that you can look up to and just strive to be. Other bands are like Rise Against, the Deftones, Newfound Glory, some of the pop punk stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you got the Metallicas of the world and Killswitch Engage and stuff like that. So we all take, what's cool is we all have our different influences, and when we go into the studio to create, you can definitely tell the certain songs that have been influenced by a certain member because of what we listen to more of. I listen to a lot of indie stuff and a lot of hip hop. And Jeff, our drummer, listens to a lot of hip hop, so that's great for just beats and everything. So yeah, as far as influences, those are definitely some of the artists. For myself, as far as just being a songwriter outside the band or with inside the band, I look up to Dallas Green, who was in the band Alexis on Fire, and then he created City in Color, which is more of a acoustic, vibey type thing. As I said earlier, I started playing guitar at 7. I'm 38, so my biggest influence actually at early age was Stevie Ray Vaughan, songwriters like Bruce Springsteen, John Cougar Mellencamp, ZZ Top, like those old classic artists. And they definitely have had an impact of shaping your craft. And then the grunge scene hit, and you take a little bit of piece of that, and then the screamo age comes, and you take influences and pieces from those bands, and pretty soon you put it in a blender, and you kind of just have like your own sound or own style. I listen to everything. So I mean, there's days I'm even listening to some of the new country, and people are like, "You listen to country?" I'm like, "I'm listening to it based on the songwriting abilities and the hooks and the simplicity." And there's just something so special about that, and creating and finding the formula of writing the best song, whether it's a hard rock song or a slow ballad. It's a science, man. And the longer you do it, hopefully you can perfect it a little bit. And, for me, it's always, oh, everyone loves this song. Oh yeah, I'm going to write this song. I can do better, and which is just, as everything in life, you should just want more, so.
And how do you do, this is just a question that pops in, how do you reconcile, because you play music because you enjoy it, you love it, you play the songs, you write them, and how do you reconcile this wish with trying to please the audience, the fans, because in the end you do it as well for the fans. So how do you reconcile those wishes?
Yeah, so obviously you write music, or any artist, you're creating it for yourself, but when you have some sort of platform or some sort of audience, you have to think of them to an extent. And nobody wants to put out garbage, although certain people do and they get away with it. But to each their own. Good for you. Congratulations. But yeah, ultimately, we kind of always listen back to our songs, and we feel like if we like it, and obviously send little snippets or things out to some of your close friends or family or whatever, and if they have a good response, that's always a good telltale that you're moving in the right direction. But yeah, it's scary too, because it's so vulnerable. You're releasing something and you're putting something out there in the world that can now easily be so judged. Everyone has a voice and everyone has an opinion. Now they can just, slam away on their keyboard, and it's, well, yeah, here's my comment. I'm like, didn't really care, but thanks.
Oh yeah, the new voice sucks.
Oh yeah, it's we had, luckily we only had a few of those. So but for the most part, you're always going to be criticized, whatever. At the end of the day, you want to know that you put in the hard work, and you need to be happy with it. And I feel like if you put it out and you're happy, and your heart and soul's into it, that can almost be, it's attractive, right? So the way you put it out and present it, people will latch onto it, in one way or another. And especially with like lyrical content, I always struggle with, because it might be something that I'm dealing with, and it's like, wow, nobody else wants to hear what I'm dealing with. But on the other hand, you never know what you might put out and people latch onto, and it, hey, that helped me get through this, or I can relate. And, it's a pretty small pond as far as, what we're all kind of going through time in and time out of our lives, and what other people are going through, and how it can impact somebody. And, for me, I just sat on my couch and wrote it in a few minutes and put it out in the world. And, the response or connection can be overwhelming at times. So, but yeah, I mean, you always want to just write stuff that you want to write and you want to perform, and you can get your heart and soul into it. And, but yeah, you gotta have your audience love it as well,
Okay, I see. I wanted to ask you as well, like, for example, if somebody just wants to start a band or he plays guitar, I mean, what would you say to them? Like, I mean, you just already answered about the writing part, but what about practicing or trying to find gigs or not be discouraged? What would you say?
You just got to do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, I mean, just do it. There's a lot of fear when it comes to being an artist. We kind of all just have that, am I good enough, or is this good enough? And you can really get in your head, but a lot of it too is just, to start out now is completely different than when we started out. Luckily, you can go to school and you can find the kids that play drums or that are in band, and, just getting the guts to go up and talk to them and say, hey, I play guitar. I see you play drums. Like, can we get together? What are your influences? And the other thing too is just getting out in your local scene. Whether you're in a band or been in bands, just going out and seeing performers and the local bands that are around, and meeting these people one-on-one, networking that way. I know it's so easy with social media to just click and like some people and whatever, but getting out and seeing these people play and abilities, and so I mean, years ago, Chris, who's our guitarist, he was in another band, and when I saw him play, I was like, I want that dude in my band. I want to figure out how to get him in my band. And it's like sports, man. Let's make a trade. You need a quarterback. Well, I'll give you this. But yeah, it's just putting yourself in those environments, and just going to shows, going to concerts, networking, and perfecting your craft. Making sure that you are spending time playing that instrument or singing. All that stuff takes work, and the more you practice at it, the better it's going to be, and it builds your confidence as far as when it does come that time where you have a rehearsal or a show, and it's that whole 10,000 hours type deal, So yeah, I mean, it's just doing it, and it's easy too now where you can just sit at home and record stuff on your laptop, hear it back. There's all these different plugins now, and it's endless now. I mean, back in the day, I didn't have that, and some of us are still trying to adapt to the technology aspect of what you can do now. So, I mean, nowadays it's like you don't even need to go out and find a band. If you can play guitar and sing, you can sit in your room all day and put out music.
Yeah, you maybe connect on Twitter or Instagram, and then people just I don't know what, but yeah, it's crazy, huh?
Yeah, it's beautiful,
No, it's great. And it sounds, I mean, although those things that you describe, like networking, etc., actually, I think it's great advice, first and foremost. But as well, it sounds a bit like it sounds like a business, really. Like it sounds like for example, for me, I'm blogging now. I'm doing the podcast. I'm a bit new to this as well. But I went to this conference in the US actually, so I'm trying to network. I'm connecting people on Twitter. I get them on the show or not. but
Yeah.
it's all habits, and then I'm putting out content. I'm on social media, so it's like the same. And it's like the sports guy, he needs to practice, he needs to network, to go to the schools, I don't know what, but it's all it's very similar.
Yeah, all of it's brand driven and figuring out different ways of marketing to whatever demographic and audience that you're trying to capture, you know. And with podcasts, it's a huge outlet, and you can have a certain subject matter, but you take away. I listen to a ton of podcasts, so you take away something every time. It's like a book, or obviously not certain television, but documentaries and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just figuring out what works for you, but it's definitely time consuming, and also trying to stand out above other people that are doing similar things. And the big thing is what product you have, whether it's a podcast or any sort of business or music, or you're a painter and putting out quality stuff. Less is more sometimes. I feel certain times you're throwing everything out at the world, and there's almost too much, and people get hit with so much on a daily basis that reeling it back and kind of just finding fine tuning like one or two things, and really just striving at that and trying to perfect that, and then slowly pick off the rest, as far as Twitter and however you market yourself, and then you quickly find out what works and what doesn't work. And obviously a lot of it too is like what excites you. I love Instagram. I find results with Instagram, and some people don't, and they like Twitter but nowadays you almost have to be on every platform, just because audiences go towards different things. There's so many options,
Yes, and you have to be everywhere. So it's a tough racket. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
And Kade, so you just started as well your new solo project. Can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, so my solo project is Kade Katz. It's solely me. I do work with a producer who's actually a former band member of mine, an old hardcore screamo band when we were through that phase, and he's, he got into the producing side and engineering, and we're a great team. And the solo project has been a long time in the works, and I kind of went through some stuff in my life where I was just like, you know what, I'm going to devote all my time towards writing and recording these songs and finding a time to release them. So my plan was, it happened probably around this time a year ago. I entered the studio and I wanted to most of the songs have been written, but record them. And so then they were already done. Like the music is done. I don't have to worry about that because there's so much behind this stuff with this industry. So it took me a year to finally record these, so I released my first song November 15th, titled "Running Scared," and it's been phenomenal. Obviously I don't have the guys. You're just so vulnerable. It's just you. And a lot of the lyrical content is very first person, but it's something that everyone goes through or deals with. So I feel the lyrical content can be very, like, people can just relate to it. And it's more chill, moody. Some of it's solo acoustic. Some of it just has some mild production with new elements. And I'm extremely excited and stoked for it. I was actually planning on releasing the first single in the summer, but then the transition with me taking over for the fight, I had to change everything and go finish a record and fly out to the East Coast and write it and all that stuff. So the Kade Katz project got pushed, but now it's kind of, I'm able to, release Throw the Fight stuff. And then every few weeks, my goal is to drop some solo stuff and just capitalize on, both audiences, and also grow. I'm building my own brand from the ground up, so it's different photo shoots, it's different looks, it's different ideas as far as content and assets that I want to put out. But it's super exciting, and I can control it all. I don't have to wait on anyone else's schedule. It's me, and it's a big learning curve, and it's exciting just to see where it goes, really. And I have, pretty big goals as far as what I want to achieve next year, and which is exciting. You always have to have some sort of goal that you're striving towards or working towards. And yeah, it's been great. I mean, the response of me releasing some of my solo stuff is overwhelming, and I've heard from people and have gotten message from people that it's really touched them, and that's amazing. I mean, that's the the reason why you play music, is to connect. So I have a new single that I will be dropping January 10th. That I'm extremely excited for, and then possibly another single before I'll drop like an entire project, which will probably just consist of like 6 or 8 songs. And now I'm at the point where I'm going into the rehearsal space and trying to figure out how I can perform some of these live, because some of them do have some heavier production elements and synth stuff like that. So I don't know if I'm gonna have friends and get band members and stuff like that, or if I can kind of do some of it on my own, and maybe some of the songs might come across live not so much as how it is on the songs I've released. But it's cool. Yeah, like I said, it's been a long time coming, and I'm glad I've waited, as long as I'm the most impatient person in the world. So just girlfriend.
It all sounds exciting, and 2020 is going to be hyper busy. So you have your job, Throw the Fight, and then the Kade Katz project. I mean, your own solo project. Is it possible to manage all 3, or will you drop one, or how do I need to see that? Or is it the goal to maybe leave your job at some point, or maybe we don't say that on the podcast?
Yeah, please tune out. No, yeah, I mean, ultimately, at the end of your dream is to pursue your dream, and if you can make money at it and live the life, live your dream. For all of us, yeah, we would love to quit our jobs and take music 100%, and but obviously, and there's kind of a nice thing too with having our jobs is there's that foundation. We all love what we do, and then we get the bonus where we're independent artists, and we have success, and we make money from that, and we don't have to be gone all the time. Or there's definitely some perks, but for next year we do want to tour. We're looking at some tours overseas and some festivals, and pitching some tours with some bigger acts. And if we can land those, once you kind of get in that circle, and you can do whatever. So but yeah, I mean, ultimately, if we can eventually make enough money to be on the road and put out music, we'd all quit our jobs in a second. But for me, at this point, I don't foresee, Throw the Fight's going to be a priority. My solo project, like I said, the nice thing is it's all me, so I can choose what I want to do with it. But now that the gates are open, I'm going to try to put out as much music as possible and play some shows or some mini tours, just getting it out there, and I'm not, years ago, I used to just be so stressed with, we got to do this, we got to do that, and we got to tour. And it's kind of nice. We were just more laid back with things, and things just organically happen. And sometimes when you force things, it's almost too much. But you obviously still need a drive. But on the other hand, as long as you're putting out good stuff and working towards these little goals, you're going to have success, and that's, we're just slowly growing. I'm hoping to grow my solo project fan base and followers, and the more people that share it, it's exciting, and the better, and it motivates you more to wake up the next day and go, oh, that's awesome. I now have 200 followers. I want to write a new song and keep going. It just validates you, and like you're doing something right, So, but yeah, it's gonna be a wild schedule. And years ago I was in two bands. I just joined Throw the Fight, and I was a lead singer for a different band. And Throw the Fight schedule was just so damn busy that I had to part ways with them. But that's kind of how it works,
Yes, and so Kade, will we ever see you touring in Europe?
Yeah, we're actually. Nothing's confirmed, but we did get something from. We got a UK agency reached out to us, I think, a few weeks ago, and they were like, "Hey, we want to represent you over there." And just in the industry, you're just like, "Cool, it sounds great. Do something." Like, that sounds great. I love your idea. Make it happen. It's all and endless promises and stuff like that, but. The funny thing is we got an email last week, and they're like, "Hey, this is potential routing for overseas, and all the dates, all the cities and places we would hit." And they're like, "What do you think?" We're like, "Yeah, it sounds great, but we have to find." Other bands to go out with that can draw there. We've never been over there, and the funny thing is. With Throw the Fight, our audience is bigger overseas than it is in the States.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. So the beauty of Spotify is you can hone in and see where you're at and streamed most geographically. And Germany is number one, I think. A ton in Australia, and the UK and everything. So and we don't even hit the States on the charts till like 5 or 6 or something, which is crazy. So with this agency, they're saying, wow, in these areas and regions, you have Spotify numbers, and there would be people hopefully that show up. So our goal, and all of us, a bucket list thing, is to tour the world and play music. Like what a better thing than just tour the world with your friends and
play music.
Music, man. I mean, that's the best thing ever. So we're definitely really, really pushing for 2020 to go to the UK. And we had a few offers a few years ago, and things fell out, or it didn't work financially, and it was devastating and heartbreaking because we were so damn close, and it didn't happen. So for this to kind of, like I said, we've kind of eased back, and we're kind of like, hey, let's see where things go, and people need to make things happen for us. But with our streaming numbers and stuff like that, we do really well, and now agencies and managers and stuff really look at that stuff and can see that numbers speak, and so yeah, man, 2020 UK, let's go.
Excellent. Well, I'll definitely be there if it happens, so I'll be on the lookout.
You get on that guest list.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, cool. And Kade, just maybe a last question about the bands. In the end, with actually both Throw the Fight and Kade Katz.
Yeah.
What is the message in the end? Do you have a message that you want to bring to the world with those bands, or?
message with Throw the Fight. I mean, we don't really have like certain subject matters that we're, you know, write about, or, we're not like a political band or anything like that. A lot of it is just honesty and writing about things that might be going on in the world, but then things that might be going on with, your circle or friends or yourself. And again, just how can people relate to that and take something away from it? And, that's a big thing. And rock out, like we try to strive to have each song driving the entire time, and where you can just bob your head and have this, emotional journey through each song. And so that's, I mean, just having a good time and just people able to want to listen and get something, take away something, just connecting, that's the big thing.
Yeah, connecting.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. And the same with Kade Katz?
And with Kade Katz, I mean, I'm a sucker for writing sad love songs, man. So that's gonna be a lot of it, and just love songs. And so, being able to help people get through certain times or not feeling alone, and always having kind of a positive outlook at the end of each song or mood. And just having people tap in and listen, and again connect on that level. And and I mean, we'll see kind of where it goes. The sky's the limit with that project. I'm not put into a box or anything, but it is nice to have something different than going in and writing rock music and stuff, which I love. But this stuff is solely me, and I don't have to pretend to do anything or have other people's opinions. It's really nice. So, but again, it's super vulnerable, and I'm putting out stuff that might be too honest for people, or, but they can be the judge of that.
Yeah, sure. Okay, excellent. So, Kate, thank you so much for your time and telling us a little bit about your project, the band, how it works in the background, how it works actually as a business. That was quite interesting for me. Besides my weird passion for personal finance, actually my actual normal passion is actually playing guitar myself and rock.
Yeah, I've seen your videos, man. You can slay for sure.
So it was interesting to speak to you. And usually, what we do here when we end the show is we have 3 quick fire questions that I ask all my guests. And of course, usually it's more personal finance and lifestyle, but I'll ask them anyway. Let's see what your answers are.
Yeah.
So the first one is, what has been your best investment so far?
Yeah, best investment. I would say just in myself, as far as, I touched on exercising, working out, and, I push to do that, a few times a week, just because the benefits as far as your mind and your body, and, without having a healthy body and mind, you can't do anything.
Correct.
So, that's my biggest, man, is, in diet, and just, taking care of myself, and, because then I can take care of the ones around me, and continue doing what I'm doing. And so, yeah, biggest investment is myself. I mean, I think it sounds selfish, but I feel most people, that should be your priority, is you. And then the things around you are only going to get better because of the time and energy you spend on yourself,
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And no, it's like, I mean, I even made a t-shirt for myself, health before wealth, because, okay, I talk about finances on my blog usually, and I talk about lifestyle, etc. But if you don't have health, you have nothing.
Right.
And you can make millions, let's say, with your rock band, but you can have thousands of fans. But if you're in your bed, you cannot even enjoy anything. You cannot even play the bass or sing. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, the older the older I get, I understand that and make that a priority.
Mm-hmm.
Where years ago with the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, I wasn't thinking that.
Yeah, those were the days, huh? Uh, and the second question, well, we talked, of course, about music. I don't know if you're a big reader.
Yeah, I'm a huge reader.
You're a huge reader, awesome.
Yeah.
Because my second question is, what is the favorite book you would recommend to anyone?
So yeah, I've been reading a ton. I read a lot of either biographies with musicians, artists, or I do a lot of I read a lot of mindset and mindfulness and just health and wellness stuff. But the biggest book in the last year is "On the Day" by Aubrey Marcus, and he has a podcast. It's phenomenal, and basically, it's just a lifestyle. And with this book, it talks about like your routine. Getting up in the day and making a morning cocktail with water, lemon, some Himalayan salt, getting some sunlight right away, and just going throughout the rest of the day based on stretching and movement and what you put into your body, and also still how to enjoy life. And it's just fascinating, man. It really came into my life at a very important time, where my life got kind of shook, and it kind of just built a foundation as far as a daily routine, to build myself up and be healthy and mentally and physically, and all those things. They definitely work, man. And I definitely would check it out. And his podcast for sure is phenomenal. So yeah, it's great.
Okay.
Own the day. Own the day and own your life. That's it, by Aubrey Marcus.
Okay, fantastic. I'll make sure to check it out. And then last question: what is the best purchase you've made for under $100?
A journal.
A journal?
Yep, hands down. I've journaled for years, and the longer I've been doing it, and pretty much every year or every 2 years, I'll fill one up, and it just holds you accountable, I think. And you can put whatever's in your head on paper. There's a therapeutic release with it. And I write about all sorts of stuff, whether it's, the day in life of me, or goals, ambitions, experiences, crazy ideas, crazy events, crazy goals. And, I feel like when you put things out and write them down, they can kind of come to life, So, and I've noticed that just over the last few months with certain things I've been writing down or want to manifest or whatever. And when I put them out, like I said, it just holds me accountable. And I think it's huge. And I've actually turned on quite a few of my friends onto it as well. And they're seeing the benefits of it. And so, yeah, a journal, 100%.
Okay, and you do that every day or something, or?
Yeah, I usually every day or every other day. I definitely try to make time to do it. And like I said, I've been doing it for years. That it's kind of weird if I get these urges that I'll just grab it and I just start writing stuff, and I don't even know where it comes from. But a lot of it's just like, a lot of it's gratitude and be grateful for this or enjoy this, and reminding myself to enjoy life versus just like letting it pass by. And but yeah, I mean, usually daily, if not a few times a week. And the times where I don't do it, it's almost like exercise for me. I feel guilty and like, damn it, get in the gym or journal and get this stuff out, it's just healthy, get this stuff out of your head. And so, yeah, very, very often, and I find huge benefits from it.
Okay, excellent. So, Kade, thanks so much for your time. And I think it will give another perspective to listeners about rock bands, how they work today as well. But I mean, it's really great because I didn't know personally that side of you.
Yeah.
So that makes it even more interesting because it's really a bit in line with what I usually talk about on the podcast. So it's great.
That's very cool.
And then we like the same type of music. Maybe it's not for every listener, but still it's kind of fun. And I'll link it all up in the show notes.
Thank you.
A link to Spotify because that's easy. And besides Spotify, how can the listeners find you?
So I'm on pretty much all the social media platforms. Kade, KADE _ KATZ. And that's on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And I have all the links to either my solo stuff is all Kade Katz. But I also have links to Throw the Fight, and Throw the Fight is on everything. Yeah,
it's on the Apple, it's on Amazon, it's on SoundCloud, everything. Huh?
Yep. Same with my solo stuff as well. Like we said earlier in the podcast, is you have to be on everything. People consume these things on so many different platforms. You could release something and you get a DM that's like, "You're not on YouTube." It's like, well, better get on YouTube. Why aren't you on this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll work on it, and you find out pretty quick what. I mean, it's lovely because people are searching for you,
mm-hmm.
but not on that platform. They're not scared to tell you. So you have to be on everything. So yeah, throwthefight.com. We have all of our links there. I don't have a website yet for Kade Katz, but you can go to my.
You don't have a website?
Not yet. Very, very soon.
Okay, very cool. And no, that's excellent. And maybe you'll get even more listeners from overseas now.
I would love it. Yes. And if so, please DM me. I'd love to hear from everyone. And I write everyone, so I like connecting. So, and when we do come overseas, we can hang out.
Absolutely. Okay, Kade, thank you. And I'll speak to you next time.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, really enjoyed to reconnect with my buddy Kade here and diving into the topics of music, his bands, how he view his bands as a business. That was really interesting to me. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you learned something from it as well. And here are the few key takeaways I want to share with you before we close the show. If there was one key takeaway from this whole episode, that is, to me, be serious about your passion and treat it like a business. And in today's world, that means social media management, project management, planning rigorously, be smart about the way you run your business, etc. Kade and his fellow band members have been at it for years, and they're grinding like no one else on their projects up to the point where, from the outside, they really look like a full-time regular band. And to me, that's very impressive, so congrats again, guys. The second key takeaway is to network in person as well in this digital age. I mean, it's easy to sit behind a computer or your phone and connect with people online and make connections. But don't underestimate the power of meeting people in person, like attend exhibitions, go to concerts if you're in a rock band as well, go to meetups or anything connected to your passion or hobby. And call me old school, but networking in person is still my preferred way of networking, actually. One thing I really liked about Kade's story on how he entered the band Throw the Fight is that you will not always get exactly what you want at first. But by still getting your foot in the door, who knows where things might take you. Kade first entered the band as a bass player, although he would have preferred to be the guitar player. And as the band evolved, he became the frontman. I mean, next time an opportunity presents itself, well, think twice. The next point is more of a reflection. And I made a joke in the episode about the sex, drugs, and rock and roll lifestyle. And and when you think about it, is this era over?
Are we entering the sleep, diet, and exercise and still rock era? Well, I found that part actually refreshing, and I thought it was kind of cool. And it offers a more healthy long-term view on the longevity of the band so that they can keep on rocking for many more years. And last but not least, I met Kade a bit randomly during a holiday on the other side of the world. So what can I say? Keep an open mind when traveling, and who knows who you'll meet next time. So that was it for today. Thank you so much for listening. It really means a lot to me. Make sure you subscribe in Apple Podcast. And of course, please do not hesitate to contact me if you have any questions or feedback. Send me an email, john@johnnytalks.com, or connect through social media at Johnny Talks on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And amigos, once more, thanks so much for listening, and I'll speak to you next time.